Hi Stampers, this is Sally Poole, independent demonstrator with Stampin Up. Thanks for stopping by, I really appreciate it. Today I have some card samples that I've made using the Brightest Beauty stamp set and Golden Beauty dies that are in the July through December 2022 mini catalog, which went live today. Woohoo! Also, the second celebration of the year starts today, and it runs through the end of August. So for every $50 or $100 purchase that you make, you can choose free items out of this catalog. So that makes a great deal. Also, if you buy the stamp and dies set in a bundle, you get 10% off the price. So that helps. Today we're going to be making this fun fold accordion type card. We'll do this card on a different day. I'll give you the card measurements as we go along, but you can also find the instructions and measurements for this card in the link below. For the card base, I'm going to take a piece of crumb cake cardstock and cut it at 5.5 by 8.5. There's 5.5 since it's 8.5 inches wide. Next, we're going to score it at 1 7/8. Score, don't cut. 3 inches. 5.5 inches. And 6 5/8 inches. You can either use the extendable ruler on the paper trimmer, or you can just turn the paper over and score it again at 1 7/8. All right, so now let's get our folds in the card base. We're going to fold this towards the center. Make sure that the edges are even. Give it a crease. Fold this one over and give it a crease. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So that's what the accordion type fun fold base looks like. Here are the rest of the pieces we'll be using. You'll need 2 pieces of basic black cut at 1 3/4 by 5 3/8, and 1 piece cut at 2 3/8 by 5 3/8. You'll also need 2 pieces of designer series paper cut at 1 5/8 by 5 1/4, and 1 piece cut at 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. I'm using papers from the Tea Boutique pack. I chose this because for the flower on the stamp I'm using crushed curry ink, and this paper coordinates with that. I also have a piece of basic white for the back of the card. It is cut at 2 3/8 by 5 3/8 inches. So let's get our image stamped. So for this, I'm going to be using the Stamparatus. I do have the foam piece in, again, because I'm using a photopolymer stamp. So we're going to ink up our image See if I can get that in the camera a little better. Ink up our image with the garden green ink for the leaves. Give it a good press. That looks good, so I'll close up this ink pad. Then we're going to take the little flower stamp that came with the set and try to line up all these little circles. I would rather stick to my fingers than the paper. And then we'll pick it up with our other plate. Ink that up in crushed curry. And give it a good press. That looks good. So the great thing about this Stamparatus, one of the great things, is if you want to do multiples of the same card, you can set it up like this with stamps on the different panels, and then you can just ink up your stamp, stamp your paper, do your other one. You could even flip this over and put a sentiment on it or another piece of a stamp maybe, and then continue the process. So you would just change your paper, ink your stamp, go on your merry way, and make as many as you wanted. It's pretty handy that way. So now let's cut our image out. And use my old Big Shot. Here's the die that coordinates. I'm going to lay it on the image, line it up as best I can, put a little piece of tape on it, and run it through. Okay, put that aside. So here's the image cut out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put some dazzling diamonds on the little flowers. Dazzling Diamonds is a product that has been available and then retired and come back and retired. It's one of my favorite Stampin' Up! Products, and I have quite a bit of it. So what I'm going to do is take this little quickie glue pen, and I'm not going to perfectly color in the center of all these little flowers. I'm just kind of making a little circle, quick circle. Then I'll put a little bit of the Dazzling Diamonds on before the glue dries. Give it a little flick and continue on. So before I used this stamp, I was thinking, what color would I make the little flowers? And I was thinking in the pinkish reddish shades. And then I thought, well, I don't even know what kind of a plant this is. Not that it matters when you're making artistic handmade cards. I have a cousin that's a master gardener, so I asked her if she knew what it was, and she said it's a golden wattle, W-A-T-T-L-E, something I've never heard of. So I Googled it and found out that it's Australia's national flower, and they actually have a wattle day that is celebrated on September 1st of every year. Interesting stuff, right? I have a dog ringing bells, so I'm going to run over and open the door for it. Hang on just a second. So let's get all of our little panel pieces put together. I'm going to take my liquid glue and just go around the edges of the designer series papers. And adhere them to the black panels. I really like this side of this paper too. That's always the problem with the Stampin' Up! Designer Series paper. They're so pretty on both sides. It's hard to choose which one you want to use, or if you want to use it. A lot of people always say, it's so pretty, I don't want to cut it up and use it. So that's a good reason for buying a couple of packs. That way you can certainly cut at least one of them up and use it. I'm guilty of the same thing. Okay, next let's put these panels on our card base. I did do some pre-ordering of items from the new catalog last month, but I still do have a few things left that I want to get. One of these days I should buy the new cutting machine, even though my old Big Shot still works. Occasionally the handle falls off though, but it still cuts and embosses. Okay, set our glue aside for a second, and now I'm going to put a few dimensionals on the back of our stamped image. I remember when I first started buying Stampin' Up! Products, I always just used to use the hexagon shaped dimensionals, and then I would throw the rest away. Good grief. So that's something I learned from watching YouTube videos. So we'll peel the covers off. I'll put one more right there. And then we can place the image on our card front. And now I'm going to make what I call a messy bow with linen thread. So just take a good length of thread off the roll, wrap it around your fingers 3 or 4 times, and then a couple around the two other fingers. Cut it off. Pinch it up here at the top. It's caught on my ring. So then grab the top of all these loops and squish all that together. Give it a little twist. And then I'm going to put it in these, I call them reverse tweezers, but I think they're called crossing lock tweezers. And then get a smaller piece of the linen thread. Tie a little knot around the center of your bow. And then you want to check it out a little bit and make sure that it looks like you've got this tied in the center, that it's even on both sides. Now you see why it's called a messy bow. So I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue . A lot of people use glue dots for bows. And I'm going to set it on my golden wattle. And I'm going to set one of my little stamp blocks on that while it dries a second. And then let's cut our sentiment out. I'm going to try using the die that came with this set, even though it might stick off the edges farther than I need it to. We'll see what happens. So I lined it up, put a little piece of tape on there. I've got my plate 1, my plate 2, my paper, my die, and I'll run that through. This sentiment says, "You are always stronger than you think." I love it. There's some great sentiments in this set. So I'm going to glue this sentiment down. I'm not going to put glue out on the edges of it because I'm not sure how far it's going to go. You could also pop it up on dimensionals. It's got some real pretty little embossed flourishes in there too. Well, that'll work fine. Okay, let's put our back on and we'll be finished. So you don't have to put a piece on the back, but it is nice if you want to stamp another sentiment on it, or just have some room to write something to whoever you're sending the card to. And then I'm going to cut a little bit of this extra linen thread off that I went crazy with. And there we have it. A nice fun fold card made with the Brightest Beauty set. I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks for watching this video. Do something nice for someone and send them a card.